I grew up eating like flounder and bluefish and Jersey tomatoes, and it's really the same thing here. All that, the cycles match. So it's like when the tomatoes are ready in April, I have a lot of pompano off the beach where we get a lot of mackerel. From the fishing side, I'm seasonal also, and then when it matches with the garden season, then that's when you really have a home run.
Our potential, it's exponential.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another podcast. Today we have a very special guest, a professional fisherman guide extraordinaire, and an Urban Abundance garden member as well. She has an amazing garden.
100%. Thanks for having me.
Allison, thanks for coming. So tell the people what you do too. Like, you're always out on the water.
I am always out on the water. You asked me when I started fishing. I've been fishing since I could remember. Growing up in New Jersey, and then when I came to Florida, a long time ago to go to school, just loved fishing here, loved the water here, loved, all the water hobbies, activities and stuff. So I reconnected with a lot of that.
Where'd you go to school? Down
to UM,
oh, heck
to
yeah.
University of Miami, to grad school.
Coral
so
Gables.
Like we've talked about, it's an easy jump to the Keys too. So
yeah,
Key Biscayne and Miami's good, and you can, jump off to a lot of other spots.
Is that where you got into gardening too, down there, like with Fairchild Gardens, or were you already into it? Or?
I think that also started when I was younger.
Cool.
But I loved doing Fairchild Gardens, and I loved actually the tropical gardens. I grew up with like more northern gardens, so I was really into the orchids and the other tropicals.
That they didn't have in Jersey.
Yeah.
Totally.
Learning all those new plants and species.
So fun. And now you're in Tequesta, you're local here.
Yep.
Jupiter.
Yep.
Yeah, tell people about your garden and
Started with the small
today.
garden. I did. No, I started with the small garden, and thanks to you, I wanted to take it to the next level, and so we did that, and we added beds, and now we're adding more and
heck yeah.
Getting ready for the upcoming.
That's right. Tell people about it. Yeah, we did it, and we had an awesome season. Yeah. What'd you use like for your harvest? And I was always seeing your videos putting them all out.
I like the fruit. I mean, talking about with the fishing, that's what I was going to tell you is I grew up eating like flounder and bluefish and Jersey tomatoes, and it's really the same thing here. All that, the cycles match. So it's like when the tomatoes are ready in April, I have a lot of pompano off the beach where we get a lot of mackerel. And so it's like you're used to matching that kind of stuff also.
The seasons match here too.
Like I love the mango in the summer, and then we get summer snapper. So that's what I brought today was some herbs from the garden with mango.
Wow. Was it your neighbor's mangoes? I know there's a bunch of mangoes over there.
Yeah, neighborhood mangoes. That's why I wanted to get on the ginger, ginger bin.
Yeah,
cool. Because growing that ginger, I use that a lot.
In your for your like your sauces and stuff.
I grate it up. I want to get into pickling more stuff, so
totally.
That's why I need more abundance.
Let's get it going. We planted trees for you too. You're gonna, it's amazing.
Yep.
So I mean,
I always look to the future. I can't wait till that all fills in. I kind of like imagine what that's gonna look like.
I love it. It's gonna be epic. Yeah. So I mean, that's amazing. I didn't even know that about the matching the seasons.
That's what I mean.
So
like
cool.
From the fishing side, I'm seasonal also, and then when it matches with the garden season, then that's when you really have a home run.
Right. So you have the snapper with the mango.
Yeah.
Summer snapper.
Yep. Exactly. That's what we're doing right now.
I caught a red snapper. That's my claim to fame.
Sure.
It was a big boy.
Well, we're still gonna get you on the beach though. It's like when the water temp cools down. Then we can take everybody out on the beach and do a big setup, or a little sunrise session. And
the team. We'll take the team. Cool.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Set up all the rods and tons of fish out there.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell people about what you do. Is that what you bring people to the beach to show them how to?
That's one of the things I do. What I basically do is I started out by doing a lot of kids fishing programs, and this is like more than 10 years ago. I'm very thankful that there's more opportunities and organizations now. There weren't as many then. So I started out a lot of kids programs and family programs, and that through that, I figured out that there was a lot of ladies that also wanted to learn how to fish. Either, and I'm sure maybe you have overlaps, like people that gardened with their grandpa or their dad or their
Yes.
mom or uncle, someone special where they had that young moment, quality time, and now as an adult, they want to get back into that. So I have a lot of people that say, I used to fish, but, now that I live here, I'd love to learn again. Or, I forgot, and now my kids want to learn how to fish, and I'd love to be able to help them out.
And you'll do it at the beach.
So-
You'll take them out on the ocean too, like
So
deep
I
sea?
do, yeah, we do offshore charters. We
Okay.
take out the party boats, and we can do family trips like that. It's a very accessible way, price wise, and bigger groups, to do family trips. But the beach has just been, especially since we had all the lockdowns and everything, a very successful place for everybody to learn and everybody to just have a good time. With the pier and the boats, I always say, like, I always have to do also a safety lesson, or I'm keeping my eye on the kids a lot more. Whereas I think everybody already knows how to have a good time on the beach. And so then the fishing just, it's a natural addition.
Totally. It enhances it.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, I don't have to worry about if somebody's seasick, or even like,
Totally.
when ladies are trying to learn how to do knot tying, you don't have to take in the dynamics of also moving around on the boat or the wind.
When you're on the boat, you're on the boat.
And you're
Yeah.
committed. So with the kids, if somebody wants to break away, the beach is easier for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and talk about that. You were just saying that, like, people want to go back to that moment, quality time, young moment.
Yeah.
That's probably so true. Is that the case for you? And do you think a lot like that? It's like that fishing brings you back to that moment.
Yeah. 100%. That's why I
Me too.
reconnected with that. And when I think about both of my grandfathers fished, fished and gardened. I remember going to my grandfather's in Virginia, and he had like just the green beans went on forever, I think. Yeah, I just remember going down there. It didn't matter how many little bushels I'd pick. And my other grandfather always had a lot of tomatoes. But I remember being down there as a kid and picking what I wanted, and there being abundance of that. And I think that's just an overlap. I think a lot of people that fish also garden. I think they go together.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
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 And a lot of like
being-
surfer, just like water people love to garden and the plants and all that stuff. I've noticed.
I think as like the therapeutic hobby aspect, and also as the connect to the food source,
Big time.
is super important.
And that's it. That's exactly what it is. It's
Mm-hmm.
connecting to the land and the food, and getting our own food like humans do.
Yeah, but in both, because when I talk to people about it, like, why do you fish? Is it food? Is it sport?
Yeah.
It's for most people, it's all of those things, but a lot of like, I just like the sunrise, or when I'm on the water, I take that breath and that moment to like reconnect. And so whatever your sport is, but I think a lot of people feel that.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's like asking, what do you like about gardening?
Yeah.
Like the same thing is like I could answer it 20 different ways.
Exactly. But you definitely get that morning meditation and just kind of zoning out, blocking out everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And also like providing for ourselves. Like it's a self-care.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell people, I'm curious what you like to fish. Like what's your favorite stuff to get? What's your claim to fame fish?
Oh, well, so when I started fishing, I used to fish more for sport and tournaments, like bill fishing.
Really?
And
Like you guys would get the marlin and stuff and that whole
yeah, a
thing?
lot of sailfish tournaments here. And I like to do that occasionally now, but the shift, just like everything, you go down and you start
that's
learning more and changing. Where I
Tell
am
people
right
about
now
that.
is
You're-
just food.
Cool, man. That's interesting because it is kind of it's a little too much. Tell people about that evolution you've had with fishing, because like, don't know,
I
some
like
people-
the balance, right? Like
Yeah.
fish like tarpon, bonefish,
yeah,
a lot of times snook, billfish. I mean, there's a lot of, I like to travel and catch those fish, and there's a lot of really cool experiences that you can have doing that. And I don't think And there's ways that you can do it that are ethical, where I don't feel ethically compromised at all.
Cool.
It's just when I spend my time on the water now, well, I don't know how much you want to get into this, but 2+ years ago, I learned about a Japanese method called jime. And it's essentially how you process the fish once you catch it. And the fish killing technique, and then, how it gets from you catch the fish to a product on the cutting board.
Ikejime. Mm-hmm. What is that process?
So, well, the word ikejime actually means a brain spike or instant brain death. And so some people, like on bigger species, they use a bat or a club. I use a little spike. And so the second that any fish is caught, just right there in the brain. I normally talk about it from an objective only point of view. Like, I like to stick to the biology, but subjectively, I do also think it's more ethical because the death is instantaneous. Like, if you just put a fish in the cooler, it's essentially dying from suffocation.
Yeah.
Right?
And whoever's like freaked out right now, like,
I'm
this
sorry.
is how it's all good. Like, it's okay.
That's
this
why I
is
said
honestly,
we don't need to.
No, I'll put a little thing in the beginning, but honestly, it's good. It's good. Like, this is what they do with chickens. This is what they do. They think the same way
Exactly.
too. How can we make this ethical, man? Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's real
so
conversations.
it's also not just ethical, but it's quality. And so when you process the fish this way and then you bleed it out and you immediately get it on ice, the level of quality is enhanced exponentially.
Amazing.
And so
it's true.
It's a value creation thing. It's the same thing as in the garden, that our food system maybe has failed because we've gone to this like plastic packaging system of bringing in mahi-mahi, for example, from Honduras or somewhere in Central America where we have it right here.
Not done appropriately and spiritually, and
so
interesting.
And the transportation and all of that, and so what a lot of people are doing is really trying to value create with the resource that we have here, Florida. Beautiful. We have a huge shoreline. We have massive biodiversity, and by respecting every single fish and harvesting it to the highest quality we can, we're really creating value for that resource. And it's what I'm doing now is really sharing that, because a lot of people have fished their whole life and they've never thought about, they think about everything, the tide and the tackle and where they need to be. And we haven't had a conversation of what we're now calling harvest protocol, which is once you catch the fish, now how are we processing that to maximize quality and respect? And
Thanks
so
for sharing
that's
that.
really what I'm into right now.
And so just because I have to ask you,
Sure.
For someone who were to say, hey, like, we don't even need to fish, it's not our place, get boats out of here, even though a lot of these people probably enjoy the boats, but they say, hey, this isn't a good practice, no more fishing, like, we don't have to eat them, this is cruel. What would you say to a person like that? Like, we're gonna, like, overfishing, they might say, hey, we're overfishing.
So, fish is any other type of animal protein. So I evaluate that. I look at it as harvest, and I look at it as butchery. And so I don't want to get to whether it's better to be a vegetarian or whether people should be carnivores or omnivores or what.
Yeah.
What I will say is that resource management, whether it's water quality, whether it's fisheries management on spawning season or regulations of quantity or size minimums, I fully support that.
Yeah. Like regulations out there on the water, people not pulling out every single...
Well, I think what people don't realize is that people that hunt and fish are actually the resource's biggest advocates.
Tell them.
We're stewards.
I love that.
Because we appreciate the resource. We know the value for all those, you said 20 reasons, for food, for therapy.
And it also feeds the land as fertilizer. But here's the main thing, Allison, I appreciate this, just different perspective for people out there. Because also it's like, those people have the knowledge too. They're actually out there on the water.
They're seeing
They
what
have
happens every day.
Yeah.
Maybe their livelihood is dependent on it, if not just their mental health.
Right.
But they're the ones that are, have an interest in the resource, and they see the future of it. They remember it as a child, right? And now they're activists as an adult because they want to have that preservation, for future generations. And whether it's stewards of land or water or fish, I think the people that have their hands in there are the ones that really understand.
Which matter, it matters, like resource. They do this with deer up north and all this stuff. It's resource management,
Yeah.
And there is an imbalance out there, and it's like, let's come to terms with that, figure out how to make it better,
Yeah, well, a lot of the imbalance is also
Together.
caused by human intervention.
Yeah.
So what we throw some of that off, and then we have to figure out, I think, how to get that back into equilibrium.
Yeah, and it's funny, like maybe we don't have it. We can't, like we're just playing stupid trying to control it all day long, because it's so powerful and beyond us.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I mean, but here's the thing. I think if we're conscious and we're like not ignorant about it, I think fishing has a place, for sure. Like for humans.
Fishing has had a place within history. If you go back, our earliest
Forever.
people, right, settled by water because they needed that to survive. And then came agriculture, and fishing was their sustainability and hunting.
Big
That's
time.
as far back as history started.
Yeah.
So I think there's a place for it. And I think, again, like you said, it's all about balance.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Have you ever been up to like fish salmon up like north?
My friend does that
Yeah.
in Michigan. I'd love to do that.
That would be fun.
In Alaska.
In Alaska?
One time, but I was very young. Yeah, I'd like to do it again as an adult.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you been anywhere else really special, cool fishing?
I do. I love to travel and fish.
Yeah?
Yeah. Bahamas is great.
Yeah.
I just went to Guatemala. We're doing actually in October.
Yeah.
It's an event called Hook and Harvest. And we have some really amazing chefs coming to Guatemala, and I'm going to be doing the jime workshop so that anglers can learn the technique and the practice hands-on. And then at night there's going to be like Michelin star tastings and learn to do chef butchery and knife skills and stuff like that. So a lot of anglers want to learn how to level up in the kitchen. They're like, okay, now I can catch this world-class product. Now I need help, once I get in
And
there.
you're going to help them with that in this workshop?
I'm hosting the event.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm doing the jime part.
What's it called again? I like Hook to Harvest.
Hook and Harvest is
Hook
what we're calling
and
it.
Harvest.
It's cool, right? It's
I
kind
like
of
it.
like catch and cook, but a little elevated.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So-
Yeah, check it out. Where can people sign up for that?
It's if you go on to the lodge, Casa Vieja Lodge, their website.
Okay, we'll
you
get
can
it.
you can
Cool.
contact them, casaviejalodge.com.
In Guatemala.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool.
So cool. Yes, the processing is the next step, right? Like the garden too. You have all these carrots. What do you do with them?
Exactly.
You eat them like a horse.
Well,
or-
it's like pairing, it's like chefs want to go into the farm and hand select not just their produce, vegetable, fruit, but their exact cuts of meat, or they know what that animal has been fed,
Mm-hmm.
So it's very similar. We've just never thought about it like that. We actually don't have like the oversight and the terminology to describe it like we do meat. We never were given that structure regarding fish and seafood. So like prime or all of those different categories of beef, for example. We don't really have those same terms to describe fish.
But they exist.
No, they don't
Yeah.
really exist.
Got you.
They
You're
maybe
saying that-
exist in like
Okay.
Japan, where people have a
Right.
super refined
Gotcha.
taste for that. And because we weren't given that a long time ago by our government, the same like jurisdiction that they have over how cattle and pork is raised, they never set up that type of governmental oversight for seafood and fish. And so we just don't have that labeling in our like regular terminology.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you
So-
probably caught a lot of fish out there.
I don't know
What do you-
about that.
How do you, are you out there? How many times a week are you out there? I'm just curious.
A lot, and it depends on the season. So right now, like I said, the ocean temperature by the coastline is like 87 degrees or something. I mean,
The
it's like
news
really
keeps
hot.
talking about it.
Exactly. So there's not a lot of fish. I don't know if you're gonna like
Right.
pre-poach it before you catch it. Yeah. So there's not a lot of fish
Got it.
in close right now. We have snook here in Jupiter and Juneau, and a lot of people do come here to catch them, but they're out of season right now.
So
Most of the fishing I'm doing is offshore.
Cool, got it. Yeah, and what is the season for someone if they were like, I want to come catch?
So my beach fishing is when the water gets cool, and it's
Yeah.
a migration thing. So we have the mullet run that comes down like
Gotcha.
August, September.
Yeah.
And then behind that, basically the fish are in the Carolinas or Virginia for the summer in that mid to upper 70s temperature, let's say, 80s.
Okay.
And then when they starts getting, cooler, then they know they're supposed to head south. So behind the mullet run in the fall, we get like Spanish mackerel and bluefish. And then behind them, we get pompano. And offshore, you get like, that's when the mahi and the blackfin tuna start coming back down.
Wow.
So same thing. They go north in that April, May time frame, and then they come back down in like October.
Wow. It's like it's
season.
snowbirds.
Yeah,
Snowbirds.
it's exactly like snowbirds. But
the
it's
se-
also keyed into your garden
It's
schedule,
100
It's
the same
100%.
thing.
Yeah.
It's so true. Once you tune in, because Allison, I love talking to you about this, because you're tuned in, you're like, oh, the weather's doing this, time for this to happen. Like, it's
Yeah, and
all
sometimes
connected.
it can be like you'll say, oh, it's a couple weeks late this year.
Yeah.
And that is, the same thing. We say the same thing.
Wow. You start to see the fish. You're like, oh, okay, here they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Start to see the mango blooms. Okay, here
Yeah, I feel like that happens. There's certain triggers, whether it's temperature or whatever, and then
So cool.
very cool.
Yeah. What else? Is there any, like, I want to, like, specifically, I love how your take on the overfishing and just, like, on, like, doing it responsibly and is there anything, like, since you are on the scene, I'm just curious because, like, I know a lot of people care about the water here in Jupiter. Like, my audience cares about preservation, all that stuff, as they should. Is there anything, like, you see that really could be better? Like, we could do better in 2023?
It's hard to look at problems from, like, the big picture. I just tackle things from, like, an individual and a community
That's an amazing answer.
level.
Like, in your life.
Well, if you try to
around-
take on
Okay.
water quality, it seems impossible. What we were talking about is I
Okay.
really haven't used my sprinkler system.
There you go.
I just don't need it. And I just don't need the over manicured lawn. So I don't put any weed killer or anything on my lawn either. And
So it
no,
doesn't
I
end
don't
up-
have a pretty exact, precise green grass lawn. It's messy, but it looks lush and my garden's pretty. I don't know. I just made personal choices, and I encourage other people to do that.
That's a great answer. Thanks. Yeah. Because it can seem overwhelming.
Yeah, but
If
I
you're-
think you
but
can
if-
get other people,
Totally.
on board with what you're doing, and they see that you don't need it as much.
I love that. I don't water my grass. That's one thing I could do.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. So what else are you looking to plant this season? What are you looking forward to in fall? We just sent out the list.
Well, that's what I was
The
saying
menu.
with the I filled mine out already.
Nice.
I like a lot of the edible flowers.
Okay.
Is like, because part of what I'm working on is like my presentation, because when you have a product that's so high quality, whether you're talking about vegetable or fish, you just want to let that shine. I'm not like frying fish and putting sauce on it, and I'm trying to just
This is the
let
fish.
let it highlight
let it
its
shine.
natural flavor. And so picking all the, like doing the nasturtiums or little extra herbs.
Beautiful.
I'm kind
Like
of into
like
that.
a garnish on the
I'm
dish.
into that. Garnish eating it. I'm into the, I use like the mandolin and I slice up the peppers, spicy sweet peppers. I use those onions. I just had a couple,
Nice.
and that's what I used. There's
Perfect.
mango, herbs, and that onion was on top.
Cool. Yeah, we're going to get it going. It's going to cool down before we know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm ready, and I
Yeah.
like that we did the cover crops.
Good, cool. Yeah, it's gonna help.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just think that's a good idea. You know, I was talking to another friend of mine, and I told him that you just did that. And he said, oh, I've heard about that. I've just never done it. And I said, yeah, me too. But it takes somebody to kind of point out the timing and show you how to do it, you know, and then
Totally.
definitely starts to become part of the program.
Totally, that's so beautiful. And experience it and see it and
Yeah.
flow into it.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I just never like added it to my steps.
Totally, totally. To your repertoire.
Well, you have like a calendar, and in your mind you do certain things. So now I know,
Right.
August we'll start doing the cover crops. So you were ready to plant.
Yeah, exactly. We have to know. We got to be like, guys, it's time to plant right now, or else people will just go to, they won't know. It's like you probably.
Yeah,
with
like I
this.
have the planning schedule, but I didn't know I needed to do the pre-planning.
Yeah.
So now I have that on.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, Allison, this is really good stuff. I appreciate your time
Cool.
today.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, before we go, is there anything you want to share to the world?
No, I just want to say thanks for what you're helping me do, because it seems like a little thing, but again, it's like it's one person, but then that kind of has the rippling effect of one neighborhood and then one community.
Yeah, I
appreciate that.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. We just began,
Yeah, but now it adds on because everybody sees my garden and
Yeah. So
that,
fun.
Yeah, passes on.
Totally.
Cool.
Thanks, Allison.
Thank you.
See you guys next time.